Hi guys, this is Vidisha Vitlani, and today I'm going to take an online session on the reading techniques. Now, see, when it comes to the reading component, it is the second component of your IELTS, where it's a 1 hour session, and you have to attempt 3 sections based on it. So basically, reading is nothing but a reading comprehension that you are attempting, right? Now, when it comes to the reading comprehension section, we have this thing that we're always confused with this particular question type, and that question type is match the headings and true false not given. So I'll just give you a layout of the webinar, how the webinar is going to be conducted. Firstly, I'll give you the basic tips, strategies, and everything. We'll go and solve a passage. And once we're done solving a passage, what we're going to do is I'm going to answer feedback questions for you. So regarding the entire webinar, if you have any queries, I'll be addressing you at the end of the session. You can post your queries in the question answer box, not in the chat box. Anything related to IELTS, the particular webinar that I'm taking, post it in the question answer box. I will take care of it after the exam. Okay, so let's begin. Now, when it comes to reading, okay, so the entire reading consists of a lot of question types. Match the headings, true, false, not given, yes, no, not given, summary completion, sentence completion. There's a flow chart and there's a table, right? And out of which most of the things that we're confused about is match the headings and true, false, not given. Now, what is match the headings entirely? I'll tell you. Match the headings is a question type in which you're giving a title to a particular paragraph that is given. You're giving a heading to a paragraph. Now, for that, a very, very important part is that you yourself understand the passage. Like, let's say I'm giving a title to this webinar, Reading Techniques. That is because that's a summary of the webinar. That is what the webinar is about. So the same thing applies, the same logic applies to your reading session. Okay, I'll start with the PPT. I'll explain you through a PPT the entire session. Right. Now what is matching the headings? Headings are nothing but short sentences that summarizes the information in the paragraph. Now there'll be 5 to 7 headings, and you have to pick up the best possible option. What skill is particularly tested here? Now, in reading, the major thing that is tested is speed and accuracy. The speed at which you skim the passage, and second, how accurate you are with the passage, right? Okay, now, here, the first skill that is tested is whether you can identify the main idea of the paragraph or not. The second thing that is tested is whether you're able to choose the heading that best summarizes the idea, that best paraphrases the idea. Now, paraphrasing is a word that holds a lot of importance in IELTS. Paraphrasing is nothing but when you phrase something in a different way. So if you go to see, most of the times, the headings are nothing but paraphrasing of the sentence. And most of the time, this is 90% scenario that headings are always there in the first 2 lines and the last 2 lines. There is a lot of other distortion in the paragraph. Right, now what we're going to do is, I've selected the passage. The passage is called Is There Anybody Out There? And from that, we're going to have 5 paragraphs in the entire passage. We're going to check out the paragraph. We're going to select a heading, and then I'll give you the correct answer. So try doing it with me. Keep a pen and paper on hand so that it's easier for you to do it, right? Okay. Now, we have paragraph A here. I've given you the list of headings. The first step when you solve your headings is you glance through the list of headings. Don't give a lot of importance to it. Just glance through all the headings. There are 7 headings here. The first heading says, seeking the transmission of radio signals from planets. The second says, appropriate responses to signals from other civilizations. The third says, vast distances to Earth's closest neighbors. The fourth says the fourth says assumptions underlying the search for the extraterrestrial intelligence. The fifth says reasons for the search of extraterrestrial intelligence. The sixth says knowledge of the extraterrestrial life forms, and the seventh says likelihood of life on other planets. Now, here I have paragraph A. This is the first paragraph for my passage. All I'm going to do is skim this. Skim is nothing but when you're actually not understanding the meaning of the passage, you're just going through it in a very quick way. Now, what I want you to do is read the first three lines and read the last three lines and figure out what the paragraph is about. Okay, now the primary reason for the search is the basic curiosity, the same curiosity about natural world that drives all pure science. We want to know whether we're alone in the universe. We want to know whether life evolves naturally if given the right conditions, or whether there is something very special about the earth to have fostered a variety of life forms that we see around the planet. Okay, now let's see what the last bit says. Is it even possible that the older civilization may pass on the benefits of their experience in dealing with the threats to survival, such as nuclear war, global pollution, and other threats that we yet haven't discovered? Now, the first line says the primary reason for the search is basic curiosity, and basically, why are we searching something? In this case, it's naturally about life forms that are not based on Earth. And the last bit is telling me something about the benefits. This is what all I've been able to interpret. Now, let's check out whether we can find, let's check out the first bit of the paragraph and we can find something similar written in here. Okay, if you go to see the fifth point, the fifth heading, the reasons for the search of the extraterrestrial intelligence. So basically, why are we searching? So I have this first reason, that is curiosity. Curiosity is a major reason for the search, and that is exactly paraphrased into the fifth heading. So this naturally is going to be my answer. Okay. Do you see the red thing which is highlighted? The primary reason for the search is a basic curiosity. The same thing, paraphrased, written in a different way, is the fifth answer. Now that's what you're going to pick up. Now remember this one thing, we're very lucky that we can match words to words. But in your exam, make sure you're not matching words to words. You have to match ideas to ideas. Getting my point? You're not matching words to words, you're matching ideas to ideas. First thing you do is you read first 2-3 lines, understand what they're trying to tell you, then paraphrase the heading and then match. Okay, now we'll move on to the next paragraph. Okay, can we read the first 2 lines and the last 2 lines? I'm giving you around 10 seconds to do it. Right. Now see, in discussing whether we're alone, most SAT scientists adopt 2 ground rules. First, UFOs are generally ignored. And then I see the second one. The second rule is we make a very conservative assumption that we are looking for a life form that is pretty well like us. So now here I have the first line says that there are 2 ground rules adopted. The first one is that the evidence is not strong enough. The second is an assumption that we're looking like a life form that is well like us. So basically these are rules or these are assumptions. Can I see something similar? Yes. I can see the fourth heading that says assumptions underlying the search of extraterrestrial activities. So here the entire B paragraph is talking about 2 assumptions that that are considered for the search of extraterritorial activities, and hence this is my answer. Right. So do you see the keyword here is two ground rules, and there's a statement that says that we make a very, very conservative assumption. Now, again, I repeat, do not match ideas, do not match words to words, match ideas to ideas. This is what you're supposed to do. I got a rough idea in this paragraph that there are two ground rules adopted. The first one, and this is the second, said that they make a very conservative assumption. So in this case, the assumption that was made, so in this case, the first, when they mentioned rules, they technically meant assumptions. That is exactly something which is given in the fourth heading, which is why I picked up the fourth heading. Also, there is no close answer to this one. Right. Now, let's read paragraph C. Now, even when you read the first line of paragraph C, like even when we make these assumptions, you can actually figure out that was the heading for the B paragraph, that actually can cross-check with the help of such lines. Right. Read the first three lines and last three lines, please. Okay, even when we make these assumptions, our understanding of life forms is limited. We do not know how many stars have planets. We certainly do not know how likely it is that life will arise given the right conditions. So basically, the first line is saying that the understanding of life forms is limited. We do not have an understanding of other life forms. Second is saying that whether there is life on other planet or not. This is what the entire paragraph is talking about. Okay. And the last line says that our nearest neighbors are perhaps thousand light years away, which is almost next doors in astronomical terms. Right. So now here, if I go to C, I have the third one that says vast distances to other closest neighbors. Also, the seventh one that says likelihood of life on other planets. Now, I have two close answers here. This is what happens with most of you guys. You pick up two answers, you get confused, and you always pick up the wrong one. Understand this. You are assigning the title to the whole paragraph. You are giving the heading to the whole paragraph. You are not just giving the heading to one particular line. That's why I'm always, that's why this is the third time I'm repeating in the entire session that we do not match words to words. We simply match ideas to ideas. So, okay, now when you go ahead, when you look at the whole paragraph is telling that we are not sure whether there is life on other planets or there is no life on other planets. And moving on, the middle part of the paragraph says that we might have a life bearing planet. So, again, the entire paragraph is talking about the seventh heading, that likelihood of life on other planets, whether there is life on other planets or no. And that is why we pick up the seventh topic. Now, whenever there are two close answers, this is a very common rule that you have to apply. Pick up the closest answer. Now, how do you select the closest answer? You figure out the whole paragraph, you try to skim it, you try to make sense of what is given entirely, try to figure out the summary or the gist of the paragraph, and then assign a title. See, this is a very, very common logic. If you're understanding what is given in the paragraph, you will be able to put a heading to it, right? Also, there's this one line that said that how likely it is that life will arise naturally. So because of that, my heading is the seventh one. Right. Let's go on to paragraph D. Read the first three lines, read the last three lines. You won't believe when the paragraph is given, it is the 20% of which that actually defines your answer. The 80% of the paragraph is entirely distortion. It is there to distract you. 80% of the paragraph is simply noise which is there to distract you. It is only the 20% that is making sense. It is the only 20% out of which you have to select the proper heading. Right. Can we read the last? Can we read the first? Please go through the first two lines and the last two lines. Okay. An alien civilization could choose many different ways of sending information across the galaxies, but many of these either require too much energy or have severely attenuated while traversing vast distances across the galaxy. Okay. Radio waves in the frequency range travel the greatest distance, so all the searches to date have concentrated on looking for the radio waves in this frequency range. So basically, this paragraph is telling me everything about radio waves and that we've been searching for radio waves. And that is why naturally the first heading is your answer, seeking the transmission of radio signals to other planets. Now this one was an easy catch, there was no complication, there was absolutely no close answer. It was a very simple thing which was given. Right. So do you see my keyword was radio waves, and there's a statement that says, so all the searchers have concentrated on looking for the radio waves in this frequency range. Okay, what I want you to do is just paraphrase this. Just interpret this and check out with the first heading. Do you see that the meaning of both the sentences is exactly the same? So list of headings, the headings is nothing but a paraphrasing of the statement that defines the paragraph. Okay, moving on. Last paragraph, this passage had 5 paragraphs. This is the last paragraph. I want you to take time. I want you to read the first 2 lines, last 2 lines, figure out what the paragraph about. This is really, really simple. Try that if you can get the correct heading for this. Right. There's a considerable debate over how we should react if we detect a signal from an ancient civilization. Everybody agrees that we should not reply immediately. Now, I have a synonym to this when I was glancing through the headings. Appropriate responses to the signals from other civilizations. Right. So, is this exactly the paraphrased of the thing? Right? This is exactly the paraphrasing of my heading. So that is why my answer is naturally going to be the second one, because I have a keyword reply and the synonym of that is responses. Also, the entire paragraph is about how often, like how immediately a reply should be sent. Okay, so this was all about matching the headings. I'll just repeat what you're supposed to do. What steps to follow when you go for the heading. The first step that you follow is you glance through the headings. Now, see, what a lot of people do is they invest a lot of time in understanding the headings. This point of time, you don't have to understand the headings. Trust me, the first time you get headings, first thing, don't understand the headings, just glance through them. Okay? The second thing, pick one paragraph at a time. Don't do the entire thing, you will get really confused. So, what I want you to do is pick one paragraph at a time. Now, when you're picking up one paragraph at a time, understand the meaning of it. If you know what the paragraph is about, you're naturally going to be able to assign a title to it very, very accurately, right? So look at the paragraph, try to understand the paragraph, and then put a heading to it. Then go to your options and select the one. That really works well. Paraphrase the headings. At that point of time, you need to paraphrase. Now, see, when will you be able to paraphrase? When do you think you'll be able to make different words out of it, when you're actually understanding the meaning of the paragraph as well as the heading, right? Also, there's this third point that says match the main idea, not the vocabulary. Keep this in mind. Just imprint this in your mind. Okay, the fourth thing that says is not all headings are going to be used. If you realize, we had 7 options and we had 5 paragraphs, and actually 2 headings went unused, which is absolutely fine. Okay, there will be one heading for one paragraph, not the headings will not be repeated. For example, the second answer is for B paragraph, the second answer cannot be for the B paragraph. So this was about match the headings. If you have any queries relating to match the headings, put it in the question answer box. I will get back to you once we're done with the true false not given. And I'll tell you, keep few things in mind. I'll give you a few tips for matching the headings. The first tip is pick up when you start practicing reading, pick up paragraphs that specifically have matched the headings. Keep solving them. Okay. Third thing, time yourselves. Don't take too long. Again, a lot of people have this habit of keeping these headings towards the end of the section. Don't keep them towards the end of the section. Solve them first. I'll tell you why. This is one reason. Now you will realize. Now we're going to do true false based on the headings that we've solved based on the same paragraph. Now, the next set of questions, you'll be easily able to locate which paragraph this lies in. So that makes your process quick, right? Basically, we have to complete a paragraph in 20 minutes. That itself means that, you need to be really quick with this and you cannot spend a lot of time on one paragraph. So when you're doing the headings first, naturally it's going to be, easier to solve the remaining question types. Also, don't take too long on one particular paragraph. If you think, don't get scared, don't think long paragraphs. It's never going to be like that. As I said, 80% is simply the noise, simply the distraction. There is 20% that makes sense, right? So whenever you see a long paragraph, don't get scared. It's absolutely okay. Read the first two lines, read the last two lines. If you want, just skim a little bit in the center and get through this, right? Okay. I'm going to move on to true, false, not given now. There are a few questions. Now, first thing, what are you supposed to do with true, false, not given? You'll be presented with a list of questions and you have to identify whether it's true, whether it's false, or whether it's not given, right? And see, when is it going to be true? When it's exactly mentioned in the passage. When there's opposite information, it's going to be false. And when the information is missing, or the information is incomplete, that time it's not given, right? So they're not given in a lot of cases, always the students get confused when it comes to false and not given. They're constantly wondering whether it's false or it's not given. And trust me on this, there is a thin line to this, and a lot of times you're confused. We'll do this practically. Again, first strategy is focus on the statement that is given. When you're actually reading the statement, interpret the statement, identify the keyword. Now, why are you identifying the keyword here? You're identifying the keyword so that you can locate where is it, right? Like, for example, I have something related to radio waves and actually know it's in the D paragraph because that's where I read it. Okay. And then the fourth thing you do is take a decision whether it's true, whether it's false, or whether it's not given, right? We'll move on to this now. We'll do the sample questions. I have 6 sample questions for you. Let's read one by one. Since we've already been through the entire passage, we'll be hopefully easily able to locate where this lies. So let's read the questions one by one and try to figure out where is my answer. The first, also, as you know, that the reading questions are always in sequence. So if one lies in A paragraph ending, second is going to be B paragraph, third is going to be somewhere in C or D, right? The last one is actually going to be in the last paragraph or the second last paragraph in certain cases. Okay. Alien civilizations may be able to help the human race overcome serious problems. Again, let's read this. What is this saying? Alien civilization may be able to help the human race. So here I have a keyword, help the human race, and second thing, serious problems. Now, if you go to see the first paragraph, we had read something about the benefit while giving the headings. Let's check whether that matches or not. Okay, let's read this. The mere existence of such survival will tell us of that the long-term survival is possible and gives us some causes for optimism. Again, something positive. It is even possible that the older civilization may pass on the benefits of the threats such as nuclear war, global pollution, and other threats that we haven't yet discovered. Okay, so in a way, alien civilizations will be able to help us by actually giving us warnings, by giving us the optimism. So here, alien civilization may be able to help human race overcome serious problems. Yes, first thing, the synonym to help is benefit here, related word. Serious problems, yes, nuclear war, global threats, global warming. So here, can I match this? I can match this, so my answer is true. Now, when is your answer true? Your answer is true when the question matches exactly with the information given in the paragraph. Here, the information given in the paragraph exactly matches with my question, and that's the only reason my answer is true. Okay, let's go through the second point. 80 scientists are trying to find a life form that resembles the humans in many ways. Now I'm done with a paragraph. I have to figure out whether this is given in the B paragraph or not. Now, my question was, 80 scientists are trying to find a life form that is pretty well like us. If we remember when we went through the headings, there was a second assumption. Read this. Second, we make a very conservative assumption that we are looking for a life form that is pretty well like us. Now, let's go to the question again. We are trying to looking like a life form that is pretty well like us. And there is this statement that says that resembles the humans in many ways. Don't you think that these are paraphrased lines? When the line is paraphrased, when the question is saying exactly what my question is, my answer is naturally going to be true. Now let's check this out. Americans and Australians have cooperated on joint research projects. Now firstly, see, whenever you find a proper noun, your proper noun is a keyword. The reason your proper noun is a keyword is because they're easy to spot. Naturally, Americans and Australians are something that you would be able to spot if they're mentioned in the passage. What is my question asking me? My question is asking me that Americans and Australians have cooperated on joint research projects, whether they work together on joint research projects. Is this correct? Is this wrong? Or this is simply not given? Okay, let's go to paragraph B. If we can find Americans and Australians here. I don't see Americans and Australians here. Do we see Americans and Australians here? Please, Kim, can we figure out Americans and Australians? No. Not towards the end, not in the middle, obviously not in the beginning. Okay, let's move ahead. Let's check out paragraph D now. Do I see Americans and Australians here? Yes, I see Australia. Yes, yes. Okay. I see US Congress. Okay, I see France. Okay, now I figured out I can see Australia. I can see US Congress. Let's read and let's figure out. Okay. So far, there have been a number of searches by various groups around the world, including Australian searches using the radio telescope at Parkes, New South Wales. Okay, so this particular line tells me that there have been a number of searches, and using the radio telescopes, there have been Australian searches. Okay. The scale of the searches increased dramatically since 1992 when the US Congress voted NASA 10 million per year. Okay, now here this particular line is telling me that the US Congress has voted NASA 10 million. I have some information about Australia. I have some information about the US Congress. Now, if you go to see, Americans and Australians have cooperated on joint research projects. Most of the students here make a mistake. They simply write false. No, Americans and Australians have not cooperated. Australians have their own searches, Americans have their own searches. But how do you know that? Is it clearly written? No. Option is not given. Why? See, whenever there is not given, understand that there's always going to be a possibility kind of an answer. There's always going to be a possibility that Americans and Australians may have cooperated, because that particular information is not given to me. That particular information is missing. So I'm not supposed to make an assumption here that no, they have their own searches. They can have their own searches, but it is a possibility that they work together, because there's no such information. I have information on research projects of Australians. I have information about some things that Americans did, but no specific information about Americans and Australians. They've cooperated on joint research projects is given. Hence, the answer is not given, right? Please keep this in mind. The moment you spot something and you don't find it out, don't write false. Check whether this exact information is given. If the exact information is not given, the answer is always going to be not given. See, if it's true, it's true. If it's false, it's false. Then if it's none, it's not given. Right, let's read the fourth question. So far, SETI scientists have picked up radio signals from several stars. Okay, let's read this again. So far, SETI scientists have picked up radio signals from several stars. Here, what's my keyword? What is my keyword here? SETI scientist, yes, because it's a proper noun. Also, radio signals, it's a noun, so again, I can spot it. And I had read something related to radio signals from a lot of places. So let's see the paragraph, whether we'll be able to find it. If something, I see related to signals towards the end. Yes, this part of the project is searching nearest thousand likely stars. So there is this line that says is searching, that means we've not yet found it. It's exact information. My question says that we have picked up radio signals from several stars. We have, that means this activity, this is perfect tense, perfect past tense, that means this activity is already done. Whereas my line was in simple present tense, means it is an ongoing activity. Now, this particular information is contradictory information. This particular information is an information that contradicts, and hence this is false. Getting this? We have now, see what happens is, what most of you all do is, there is no such line given. Let me put a not given here. But there are lines that mean the same thing, right? Again, don't match words to words, match ideas to ideas. What most of the people do in this particular question is they simply pick up this line and they figure out that, oh my God, the line is missing. The answer is clearly not given. Don't do that. Figure out what the line is trying to tell you. Figure out what the statement, what the question is trying to tell you. Check whether the passage means the same thing. Okay. And if you actually go for it, this answer is not given. It's not given. It's going to be false. Please, whenever you write false and not given, double check it. Check it one more time whether what you figure out is right or wrong. Don't get too confused. Have clarity in your mind. False is going to be contradictory information. False is going to be exactly the opposite information. Now see, here you're getting a little bit of clarity because I'm reading it out to you. I'm explaining the questions, I'm explaining, I know where, somewhere down the line, I know where the answer is, so I go exactly to that particular line and explain it, right? That's what's happening with us right now. What I want you to practice at home, what I want you to do when you do reading is follow the exact same methodology that I'm doing. Now, when you do this, you actually have a lot of benefits. One, you have the benefit of accuracy. You're always accurate, because you've thought about it. Second thing is the benefit of time. Make sure that, while being too sure or, while cross-checking and double-checking it, you don't really uh, you're not rushing through it, you're not missing out on timing bit, because you have to, no matter what, finish it in 20 minutes. So you can't end up spending a lot of time. So that is where the keyword technique really works the best. And even headings, when you read the first two lines and when you read the last two lines, the headings are really important, so they get over quickly. And when you've done the headings first, the remaining questions are also done very quickly because you're able to spot the answers. You know where the answers are, so it's naturally quite easy, right? Okay. NASA project attracted criticism from some members of the Congress. I read something about NASA. I read something about Congress. Let's go back. Let's try to figure out whether the NASA project attracted criticism from the members of the Congress. Go through it. Okay. Now you know whether we all can see where Congress is, where NASA is. Read the line and see what you feel. Read the line, check out what you feel the answer is. I'll again repeat the question for you. The NASA project attracted criticism from members of Congress. See whether the Congress has technically criticized NASA. Is that answer given? Check it out. Okay, the scale of the searches has increased dramatically since 1992 when the US Congress voted NASA 10 million per year for 10 years to conduct a thorough search for extraterrestrial activities. This particular line simply means that Congress voted NASA 10 million for 10 years to conduct the search for extraterrestrial life forms, and much money is spent on developing hardware needed to search the frequencies. Okay, the part of the project is searching, but here is there any mention that whether the NASA project attracted criticism or not? A lot of people actually tell me, madam, it's false. It's false. The reason is false is because Congress actually gave NASA the money. So why would it be criticized? But it is a possibility the NASA project failed, and Congress members criticize it, or no, maybe they appreciated, maybe they got positive result, or something like that. So when there is ambiguity, when there is no clarity in your question, the answer is going to be not given. Now, see, don't make your own assumptions. Make sure you're not making your own assumptions. You don't have your own perception towards a question. You're not really into the question. You're actually understanding what is given, and then you get things right. If a signal from outer space is received, it will be very important to respond promptly. Okay, I'll read the question again for you. If the signal from outer space is received, it will be important to respond promptly. That means if we receive a signal from the outer space, we'll have to immediately respond. So now let's see. I think that was in the last paragraph. Okay. There is a considerable debate over this is quite an easy one actually. Uh, there is a considerable debate over how we should react if we detect a signal from the alien civilization. Everybody agrees that we should not reply immediately. Not reply immediately. And here my question says important to respond promptly. Respond promptly is reply immediately. Reply immediately, not reply immediately. Now, this is exact contradictory, exact opposite information of what is given. And when the information is exactly the opposite, the answer is going to be false, right? Again, I'm repeating the rules for you. True is absolutely the correct information. Like the first question that we did, help human race had a similar word to benefit the human race. Serious problems like nuclear war were mentioned, and that's why we wrote it. We wrote true. Second option was also resembles the humans in many ways that look similar to us. Exactly the same thing. The third one, we did not find, we had ambiguity. There would be a possibility that yes, it may be a possibility. That's when the answer is not given. Fourth one was an interpretation. Fifth one, the NASA project attracted criticism from some members of the Congress. Again, the exact thing was never mentioned. The exact information was never mentioned, and that is why the answer is not given. Now, the sixth one, if a signal from the outer space is received, it will be important to respond promptly. So, respond promptly is reply immediately. My question is affirmative, that it will be important to respond immediately, whereas my answer says that it's not going to be important to respond immediately. Now, did you realize while reading through the entire section, there was only 20% of the passage that made sense to us? The 80% is simply noise. So this is why the entire process of skimming is important. This is the exact reason that you are supposed to practice skimming. How to skim, spot the keywords. Now that is why there is this reading technique that is particularly very, very famous. That the first thing that you do is you read the questions. Then you go to the passage. Then you analyze the passage, you skim through the passage and just figure out where your question is located. The moment you figure out where your question is located, you won half the battle. Then comes the interpretive procedure. Getting it. The moment you spot the answer, the moment you locate the answer, you're able to do it. Okay, one more mistake that a lot of people make is, I'll tell you, what they generally do is where it's true, false, not given, when you're generally rushing through the things, okay? Like when you're going through it in a bit, speed. So rather than true, false, you write T, F, and G. Don't do that, right? True, false, not given. Sometimes, there's this very common error that I spot while checking the papers. Rather than true, false, not given, it's always yes, no, not given. You're losing out on marks. You cannot do that. Okay, now when we're done with this webinar, this is all the strategies and everything is still fresh in mind. Take 20 minutes out. Okay, select a passage that has headings. Select a passage that is true, false, not given. Solve it according to the technique I gave you. For headings, the first strategy is the first step. You can make the note is glance the headings. Take a note. The first step when you solve the headings is glance the headings. Second, each paragraph at a time. The second thing is take each paragraph at a time. The third thing that you do is interpret, paraphrase, learn what is paraphrase. Fourth, take a decision. Whenever you find two close answers, write down both of them towards the end, eliminate it. Also, you can use a very important technique called as the process of elimination. Now, what is the process of elimination? Process of elimination in headings or can be used in MCQs also is when you eliminate all the wrong answers to figure out the right answers. So in this case, you can do it with the headings also. Okay. The next thing that I really want you to do is when coming to true, false, not given. Firstly, understand the question, read all the questions, try locating it, whether you can figure out which particular paragraph this lies in. The moment you understand where is your question at that point of time and understand it, translate it. Sometimes what really helps is translating into your mother tongue just to understand the question. See, in reading, whatever gives you accuracy, just do it. Okay. Second thing, please time yourselves very well. Ultimately, nothing will work if you spend a long time doing the headings, right? You can't just spend half an hour solving 6 headings. It's not going to be right. It's not going to be possible, however accurate you are. So please focus on the time. It's very important. Okay, now you can raise your queries in the question answer box. I'll give answers to them. Yes, you have a question. Any questions for the paragraph? Anything, any question particularly that we solved and you had a problem with? Please post your questions in the question answer box. Right, there's this question, should we read whole passage? No, you should not read the whole passage. Never read the whole passage. What I want you to do is, that's why I was emphasizing, it's skimming. You know what skimming is? Skimming is when you read something on the surface. Skimming is when you're not going into the details. Skimming is not when you're actually understanding what is asked. So whenever you read anything through the surface, that's going to be your skimming. And you should never read the whole passage, because if you read the whole passage, you'll end up spending almost half an hour in just reading it, forget answering the question. So in 20 minutes, when you're supposed to answer 14 questions and approximately 200 words, you cannot afford to read the whole passage. And even if you noticed, when we solved those 14 questions, we had daddy solved 14 questions if you go to see 5 headings and 13 ones. I'm sorry, 6 headings and 7 true, false, not given. We could easily do it without reading the whole passage. We never had to read the whole passage, because for headings I just had to read the first 2 lines and the last 2 lines, and for true, false, not given I was easily able to spot because of the keyword technique. Also the sequence techniques. For spotting the answers, there are 2 techniques. First technique is the keyword technique. Now what is the keyword technique? You pick up words that are easily spottable, and these are generally nouns, dates, figures, right? And the second is a sequence. We know it. The 5th answer is naturally going to be above the 6th answer. So that works really well for me as such. Yes, please post your queries in the question answer box, not the chat box, but okay. Mostly first questions are tricky or time consuming. So is it okay to go with the next question? Okay, can I have some clarity? Your first question in the sense you mean first in a particular question type or the first question type? So if you're doing the first in a particular question type, it's not generally the case. Generally all question types are going to be of the same difficulty level. Yes, but if you're not finding the answers, don't waste too long on figuring it out. If you're finding something, like if you find the third answer, solve it. Then go third, fourth, fifth. So naturally, one and two lies above the third one. Yes, you can do it. Don't ignore a question type. Solve question types according to sequence. That really helps. Do we have any other queries as such? Any queries related to skimming or any other question types are also welcome. I'm fine answering all of that. Okay, I give this tip for my students to actually improve on reading, skimming. I tell them to invest around 7 to 10 minutes per day into reading. Now, pick up something that is very, that doesn't interest you at all, because most of the time students have this complaint that, man, the passage is very boring. It's not at all interesting. What do I do? I don't like it. Firstly, you're not supposed to like the passage. You're supposed to solve it and, get marks out of it. So don't have affinity towards the passage. It is not needed, right? So what I really want you to do here is pick up anything that you find uninteresting. Like for example, I hate physics, and every day pick up 5 minutes where you read. Now let's say on the first day I was able to read the first page. The second day also I was able to read the first page. The third day I would be able to read 1.5 page. The fourth day, I would be able to read 2 pages in 5 minutes. So the time duration remains the same. The number of pages increases. So this is exactly something that's going to help you increase the speed. So why can't we read quickly? We can't read quickly because we're not habituated with the script of it. So this technique I give my students and it really works. Especially 10 days before the exam, do this. Have a habit of reading boring things. Have a habit of reading things that don't interest you. You'll naturally do very well with reading. You know what, when I do true, I have a question. You know what, when I do true, false and not given, I always confuse passages. You get confused with passages. So what is your recommendation for me? The entire PPT, I have taught you how to do true, false, not given. Okay, now see, whenever there is confusion, the confusion will always be between false and not given, right? I'm very sure this is the exact thing where you all are getting confused. So what you do is you actually read the question. In your case, you can actually even interpret it in your vernacular language, in your mother tongue. See, again, you go to the passage, locate it with the help of keywords or the sequence technique. The moment you locate it, again, interpret the same. Then tally. Then, like a balance sheet, weigh whether it's the same, whether it's opposite, or whether there is half answer which was given. So that's what you're actually solving. So that would give you the correct answer. I hope after this PPT you don't get confused. Remember this rule: true, 100% true; false, 100% false. And not given, I'll tell you one more technique. For not given, what you can do is take the entire. Sometimes the questions are too long. Take the question, break it into two. See, the first part is matching, okay. Generally, it's going to be that. Second part is matching, no. So when half the information, is missing, when half the information is not matching, the answer is always going to be not given. Don't get confused. Be very, very focused while solving it. You'll be able to do it for sure. Right. What should be the sequence for attempting question types? There is no fixed sequence for attempting the question types. I would say don't leave headings for the last. Solve them first so that the remaining question types are easier to solve. You noticed when we solved the entire passage that because we'd done the headings, we were able to spot true, false, not given. Like for example, the moment the word respond came, I was very sure it's going to be in the last paragraph. The moment NASA came, I was sure that's going to be in the second last. The moment radio waves came, I knew where that was. alien civilization, I know something about alien civilization was given in the first paragraph. So if you do it in order, it's going to be this thing. So shall we consider the answer will not be there in the middle of the paragraph? Yes. Answer, see, just remember this thing. Now, when I started the webinar, okay, just understand this. I had to tell you what the webinar is about. I had to tell you how I'm going to go about it. I had to tell you what's the entire thing and everything. So even if you would have heard me for the first 5 minutes, you know what the webinar is going to be about. Then the details of each topic were covered in an hour that we're having the session on. Same thing happens when you read a newspaper article. If you read the first 3 4 lines, you're naturally going to figure out what the article is about. You get a summary of it. So almost in all the paragraphs, 90% of the cases, the first 2 lines will give you the answer. Because you're picking up a title, like let's say there's a paragraph, naturally in the first 2 lines, they will have to mention what it is about. In the middle of the paragraph, sometimes you may have to skip 10% of the lines. 90% of the lines, the first 2 lines do justice to it. Yes, I have any more queries. Has anyone of you given the IELTS test and problem with reading? Generally, I see that the listening and the speaking scores are really, really good, and when it comes to the reading and the writing bit, it's always dicey. So especially in general training, the scores are relatively high. We have to get a 34 for a 7. So accuracy has to be really good, and same thing with academic. It's going to be 31. So remember, there are 2 things that are needed for reading: speed and accuracy. Speed. Please follow the technique I gave you. I told you the 10-minute experiment. Do it on yourselves. You will definitely have short results. And that technique genuinely works. Accuracy, focus a little bit, interpret it, paraphrasing, learn your paraphrasing well. Paraphrasing is a technique that is always undervalued when it comes to IELTS, but paraphrasing is something that works everywhere, be it listening, be it reading, be it writing, be it speaking. Yes, I have one more query. For true, false, not given, the answers are there in the middle of the paragraph. Yes, they can be there. Definitely, they can be there. Because only the headings are going to be in the first 2 lines or the last 2 lines. The true, false, not given can be there. So that's why we're using these techniques. That's why we're using the keyword technique. That's why we're using the sequence technique. Yes, they can be there. Do you have some websites which cover the reading tasks? We have an online portal in which we have certain mock tests. You can go through them. Also, you can refer a lot of online sites. You can refer the official material by British Council, Cambridge. That would really help you. I particularly abide to that material. Online portal has a lot of material, has mock tests. You can enroll for it, and you will be able to do it. Any more queries, guys? I really hope that, after you solve this, after you been with this webinar, you're able to solve this really well. You're able to do this quite well because we've actually covered a lot of question types. We've actually covered almost everything. So, I'm just now hopeful that next time when you solve your reading session, next time when you go through your match the headings or you go through your true false not given, you have more accuracy. And please, even when you solve, let's say you're doing this reading session, you've covered one, like let's say you solved these 6 headings and you've got 4 correct. Please figure out why those 2 are incorrect. Please focus on the wrong answers also. Next time you don't make those errors. Same thing with true, false, not given. Let's say out of 7, 5 are correct initially. Why are those 2 wrong? Go check, check whether you were able to locate the right sentence. If you're able to locate the right sentence, most of the time students know where the answer is. That is what they're actually, towards the end of the test, you really can figure that out. But despite knowing where the answer is, you're messed up. So why is that mess up happening? That mess up happens simply because you're not translating it, because you're not paraphrasing it. So please paraphrase it. So when you get the wrong answer, see whether, first thing, check whether you're able to locate the exact sentence. If you're not able to locate the exact sentence, learn that first. Second, what you do is interpret. Were you able to interpret the meaning of the question? Were you able to interpret the meaning of the answer? And take time, like, take time to read the question. Don't just rush through it. Doesn't work. What do you think? Which part of the IELTS is the most difficult? I mean, listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Honestly, none. Everything is very simple. Depends. It's a language proficiency exam. Depends on their knowledge of English language and nothing else. That's why I said don't have your own perceptions. Also, very important thing is don't have your own perceptions or passage. Let's say, I'm really interested in the space and I knew everything about this paragraph. Don't try true false not given just because you know it. Check with the passage. Don't go for it. Honestly, listening is something that most of the people scrape through. If you're very, if you know your English well, most of the people even scrape through speaking bit. But it's the writing that is a little bit difficult for people. So you really have to practice. Also, it's this reading bit, especially these particular question types. You make a lot of errors, silly errors, in fact, which can be avoided if you really practice, if you know your concepts well, if you know your theory well. So I think you should be able to do it. Anything else you have? Okay, I'll be ending the session. When is your next webinar? My next webinar is on next Saturday. Every Saturday we have webinars from 9:30 to 10:30 on different subjects. You can have the list is on our online website. You can always register for it. I'm glad you like this particular one. Okay. Right. Any more queries? Can we end this? Okay, what I want you to do is go through it. It's already 10:30. Take a break of 15-20 minutes. Start solving your reading test sharp at 11. Try to finish it at 12 and see that whenever you have solved MCQs, whenever you match the headings, whenever you've seen true, false, not given, are you more accurate than before? Please let us know your reviews on this particular thing, whether you're able to do it in a better way, right? Try following the tips, try following the strategies. Do we have a recording with the same? You will be. I think the same video is uploaded on YouTube. All the webinars videos are always uploaded on YouTube and you can always figure them out under the name of IELTS Online Tutorials. We've done a lot of speaking also and a lot of writing also. They're upcoming on speaking and writing as well. So you can glance through the list that have already been done and that are being, you have to do them. So please time yourselves accordingly. Keep few things in mind. Keep two things in mind for speed and for reading speed and accuracy. Be on time and be very correct. All the best for exams, guys. Hope you have a very good score and see you. Have a very great day. Have a very great weekend. All the best.